So how do you train when you're not recovered? Do you still show up to the gym and do a half-assed workout, or is there a better way? Well, in today's video, I'll give you my best tips for still having a successful session, starting with delaying the time at which you train. If you're normally an early bird, don't be that way for today. Work out in the afternoon or right before the gym closes. The later, the better. In fact, the best possible situation is training as if it's practically tomorrow. Going at 10:30 p.m., finishing by midnight. Yeah, it might sound insane, but those extra hours of recovery absolutely add up, mark my words. And if you look at a lot of nighttime crew guys, this is exactly what they do. Maybe they have stressful, long jobs, or they're students. They finish, it's like 9 something, eat, have a coffee, small nap, go to the gym. In this way, there were no excuses and you prolonged the bad recovery for as long as you were reasonably able to tolerate. In most cases, this should salvage the workout, especially if you watch some motivational type stuff right before. Now, if you really don't like this approach, another option is to simply skip the workout and resume tomorrow. Only problem is, it's now going to affect your schedule. So what's the solution now? 2 things. Either you do a 2-a-day, so the muscles that you skipped out on, say, the Monday, you're going to hit Tuesday morning, but that means Tuesday night you still got to show up to hit the opposing areas, or you run a full body program if you're not already doing that. This way, the area that was skipped is still going to be fine when it's time to train again. Because just like how I mentioned, delaying the session to nighttime helps, the reversal occurs as well for the worse. And the beauty of full body training is that everything recovers together. You can auto-regulate a little bit better. Now, if you're already running a full body system, you have nothing to worry about. If you're training every other day, so 48 hours, rest 72, and it's a done deal. So your frequency might go from 3 times a week to 2. And you know what? That's fine. It's still the same frequency that you would get on an upper, lower, or push-pull legs. It's actually how I got my best gains with full body training. Now, if you're already running the twice a week template, here's what you could do. Change the emphasis of the workout day. So if you normally do Monday intensity day, Thursday volume day, you're now going to flip that around. So take the day off, and Monday is going to be the volume day, Friday intensity day. Why? Because it maps out the same. Boom! Look at the calendar and count. You're going to be just fine. Now, let's say you don't want to manipulate your schedule like this. You're like, Alex, I'm showing up regardless. What do I do? Okay. The first thing I'll mention is to pay attention to your rest times. Your work capacity is probably insufficient right now. And so my typical recommendation is 3 to 5 minutes between sets. 3 if the set was really easy, 4 if it was moderate, and 5 if it was all out grinding mode, which is usually reserved for 0 to 1 reps in reserve. In this case, I'd recommend exclusively sticking to 5 minutes of rest, as well as staying away from antagonist supersets or anything that requires you to put that extra effort, in addition to possibly the percentages being used. See, this is where my style of training is beneficial, because if we're basing our numbers off a training max, then everything is always auto-regulated. So if you were supposed to do a max effort floor press, you come in and hit 300 instead of 315. Well, now when you base 65% off that 300, you're going to be getting the exact numbers that need to be used, whether you're recovered or not. But if you're looking at previous PRs or what you did last week in an optimal state now, things might be fucked up today. So what I would recommend, if you don't plan on going heavy, is to simply undershoot your values a bit. Drop the load by a good 10%, and that should be enough to cover you on a stimulus level. Because really, it doesn't matter what the weights are. It's actually about proximity to failure. So sure, you're coming in a bit weaker, but it would be a big mistake for you to hit the same numbers as in being in a strong state, but now your reps in reserve are going to be completely not what they should have been. Now, adding on to this, I'll also mention you should stay away from overload exercises. If you were planning on using accommodating resistance, for example, please stay the fuck away from 60 to 90 pounds of chains. Cap it. at 15 to 30 tops. Or better yet, go 100% raw and use the variations that allow you to get the most out of less weight. So long pauses, close grips, Larson presses if you're benching for that day. For squats, don't do the high axial loading variations, your comp squat, low bar. Maybe it's actually smarter to not load your back at all for that session. Just do a belt squat for volume work. The carryover should still be 1-to-1 if you're already doing lots of barbell back squats, and call it a day. Your legs will be sufficiently stimulated without beating you down as much. Same thing for the hip hinges. Don't do heavy RDL if you're not feeling up for it. Switch to good mornings, especially the SSB upside down version, because that will strip off well over 50 pounds from your rep work. No exaggeration. So basically, stimulus to fatigue needs to be at the absolute top of your priority list. Forget about optimal specificity right now. You're still gonna grow and get really strong from this approach. Remember, strength is freaking strength, okay? Lastly, if you're really messed up, just do the bare minimum and leave. It's better than doing absolutely nothing, particularly if you train more than once a week. So that can literally mean working up to a top set and leaving the gym. You're out in like 25 minutes. That's the most extreme approach. Now, the other approach is to do the hard stuff and skip out on the accessories. So that can be working up to a top set while doing a few straight sets for that one exercise, and then don't really do anything else beyond that point. Or if we're looking at movement patterns in general, we got vertical and horizontal push-pull. You would just favor one for the most part. So you're basically doing half the work, but the work that is done is emphasized. Otherwise, just do a light day, hitting RP6s for most of your exercises. Skip only a little bit of stuff, and you should be okay. And that's really about it, guys. There's not much you can do. A lot of what I said is extreme common sense, and to be honest, most of you should not be having many bad workouts. But I do understand we're not perfect, and life will get in the way sometimes. There are uncontrollable events, but the gym never stops. So in those situations, we gotta calibrate, adapt. And I hope that you learned some things after hearing me out. So now I wanna know from the guys who have experienced this before, what is your best advice for dealing with bad recovery? Let's hear it. And I will talk to you all next time.